with another wrestling review. This time it's NWA Powerrr from August 16th and NWA USA from August 20th, 2022. So with only 1 week after these shows until NWA 74, things are definitely starting to heat up. We finally get some clarification on what the heck's going to happen at NWA 74 on these episodes this week. So on August 27th and 28th, it'll be a 2-day event for NWA 74, and we barely set up any of the matches for the big event. There is two NWA women's title matches with Kamille defending on night 1 against Taya Valkyrie, and then the winner of that taking on the winner of the Mildred Burke 10-woman gauntlet on night 2. Also, we know that Jax Dane will defend the NWA National Championship against Scion in a heel versus heel match that nobody's really going to want to watch. Homicide will defend the NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship against Kerry Morton. That'll be a really good match. And then 2 months ago, we set up a Mike Knox against Bully Ray after Mike Knox threw Bully Ray through a table, and that set up a tables match at NWA 74. So for a 2-night event, it definitely doesn't seem a very good usage of 3 months of television time to set this event up. I've seen a few matches now being announced on social media, but I didn't quite look at them. But we do get those announced on the show in like a commercial later on. So I'll get to those when I get there. And it looks like they're finally going to start using these final 2 weeks of the 3 months they had to build up NWA 74. They're finally kicking it in gear this week and next week. We got a big event set up for Powerrr. It'll be Celebration 74 with every single person on the roster being there for Powerrr. Hopefully it's a longer episode than usual, since that's the case with everyone in the building. Anyway, it sure seems like it's going to be a lot of random matches at NWA 74. And then the big main event, NWA World Title match, it was built up on TV, but it was built up to be Nick Aldis who won the number 1 contendership, but then Billy Corgan used his power that he's abusing to strip Nick Aldis of the number 1 contendership and just handed the title shot to TV champion Tyrus for absolutely no reason. So all this was leading a charge in the locker room of calling Billy Corgan out for making a shady deal with former champion Matt Cardona, who was stripped of the title after, even though legitimately injured, there was a reason to strip Cardona of the title. He was out injured. So anyway, the deal was that the Cardona family would all get title shots, and they have gotten those title shots. None of them got the title win, however, to any of the titles they were going for. Anyway, Nick Aldis was removed from all shows and mentions, but we still see Nick Aldis listed in the show's credits as a producer, which definitely means all of this is storyline, but we've had zero mention of Tyrus even getting the title shot within these television shows, and it's like the NWA World title isn't even being defended. We barely talk about it on these 2 weekly shows. So anyway, let's see if they finally talk about that. We did, however, finally see Trevor Murdoch, the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, last week, and seemingly almost turned heel by attacking the Pope. Murdoch could have attacked further, but then just walked away looking scary. So maybe we'll also get a reminder that the NWA Women's Tag titles still exist, as we haven't seen the champions pretty empowered in a long time, as the Mildred Burke Invitational is a gauntlet on night 1. The night 2 gets a title shot. That'll be a really fun match. And there's also talks of an NWA TV title for the women also being announced. We don't know when, but maybe that'll be at NWA 74 as well. So let's get into this week's episode, starting with NWA Powerrr from August 16th, 2022. And we start out with a tag team match in the women's division. So here we go. We were just wondering what was up with Pretty Empowered. So already in the ring, Pretty Empowered's not here, but at least we get a women's tag division match here. So Paula Blaze and Roxy are going to take on the team of Chelsea Green and Angelina Love, which could be terrifyingly bad. Chelsea Green's the Impact Women's Champion over on Impact with Deonna Purrazzo, and even with the great talent that is Deonna Purrazzo, that tag team is no good. So we last saw Angelina Love last week, who is no Deonna Purrazzo, that's for sure. Angelina Love mentioned that former Beautiful People partner Velvet Sky still has a title shot that she's not using now that she's retired. So Angelina was going to talk to Velvet about taking that title shot from her since she's retired, like I said. So let's see how this match goes. Last time we saw Paula Blaze in a match, she only wanted to be on her phone the entire match, so she didn't do much. That was a four-way match where Marti Belle ended up winning, and Roxy was also in that match. And this isn't Roxy as in Roxanne Perez in NXT. This is I forget what her other name is, but she's got a different name as well. But they call her Roxy in NWA. So anyway, Paula and Angelina Love are going to start this match. Paula gets a nice roll up at the start, and I think she's wearing cat ears while wrestling. So Paula then pulls the hair, but Angelina blocks her attack, hitting a forearm. Now Chelsea and Roxy both tag in. Chelsea has a big height and reach advantage, but Roxy is able to catch a kick and then punch Chelsea right in the jaw. That looked nice. Then Roxy blocks a punch and hits another punch to the jaw and hits a handspring elbow, back elbow, then tags in Paula. So Chelsea then counters her attack right away, hitting a jawbreaker. Angelina Love now tags in. So does Roxy. But Paula and Roxy seem to be having some kind of disagreement. This allows Angelina Love to hit a flapjack on Roxy. Then Angelina hits a big attack to the back, sending Roxy right out of the ring. Chelsea's now attacking Roxy outside, then rolls her back in. Angelina and Chelsea hit a double team here, and Chelsea now tags in, applying a deep chin lock. So Roxy's able to strike out, and Chelsea just throws her head first down. Meanwhile, Paula's just on the apron on her phone, like we were saying last match. Paula Blaze is not even paying attention at all. So Roxy's in trouble, but Chelsea hits some sloppy hammer and anvil elbows. Those look terrible. Chelsea has just not been improving. Like she should be with all the matches she's having. Anyway, Roxy wants to tag out, but Paula gave her an ew face and just backs off. She has no interest in being in this match. Chelsea then throws Roxy into her corner and tags in Angelina Love. Then Roxy fires up a little bit here and fights off the double team and hits some big strikes on Angelina. Then Roxy hits a lethal injection handspring cutter. It was a little sketchy, but it was cool that that's in Roxy's arsenal. Then Chelsea has to come in and break up the pin. She knocks Paula off the apron, who again wasn't even paying attention. Angelina rakes the eyes here, and then they hit a double team Russian leg sweep Botox injection, and Roxy was never kicking out of that one. The winner of this match by pinfall are Angelina Love and Chelsea Green. So pretty good match here. Angelina Love looked pretty good. Roxy was impressive. And we might see some or all of these women in the Mildred Burke 10 women gauntlet, or maybe even fighting for the tag titles. So it should be interesting. We got maybe a new tag team in the division, Angelina Love and Chelsea Green. Like I said, you put Chelsea Green with a great wrestler like Deonna Purrazzo, and that team still isn't good. So this team has no hope either. But it is good to have at least another team in the division. Anyway, Paula comes in right after the match, and she's yelling at Roxy, even though Roxy didn't do anything wrong. And we don't get to see what Roxy's response was. They just cut to the next segment. So I also noticed that Nick Aldis is still in the opening video for Powerrr as well. So maybe we'll get Aldis fighting for the world title on night 2 or something like that. But no, we find out later on that there is no world heavyweight title match on night 1. The Tyrus and Trevor Murdoch match is on night 2. So that's kind of disappointing. Anyway, after the opening video, this is an interesting segment now. Jeremiah Plunkett from the Ill Begotten is out in the interview area with Kyle Davis. So we last saw Jeremiah lose a big tag war match against the Miserably Faithful with the rest of the Ill Begotten. So Jeremiah Plunkett says, everyone out here is looking disappointed, and I understand why. Normally, Danny Deals comes out here and does the talking, while the rest of us do our talking in the ring. But Danny's neck flared up. Alex took him to get acupuncture, so I'll be handling the heavy lifting today. I want to talk about the status of the Ill Begotten. Things have gotten a little shaky lately, but the Ill Begotten are doing great. We're a family. Matter of fact, Rush Freeman, come on, man. The Ill Begotten are finally all on the same page. Look at Rush. He's got the height. He's young, strong, athletic. And that's why it makes me sick that there's not a brain between those ears on that malted head. You are so stupid. We have finally found out what's wrong with the Ill Begotten, and it's you. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Do you reinforce that link? No, you break it off and get a new one. So, Rush, you're fired. Rush Freeman then says, what? I started this. The Ill Begotten was mine. And Jeremiah says, Rush, shut your stupid mouth. You're fired. You're out. You suck. Get out of my face. Now let's get to better things. We need a new member, so I've already recruited one, and that man is Brady Pierce. So the crowd says, "Who?" which was hilarious. And then Brady Pierce comes out. He's looking like a mix between Dolph Ziggler and Steve Macklin from Impact. He's got a big height to him though, and he looks way cooler than Rush Freeman, that's for sure. So I'm wondering definitely how has Rush Freeman not punched Jeremiah right in his face yet, and where's Rush's brother, Roland. I don't know why I can't say that. It's not Ronaldo, it's Rolando. There we go. So anyway, that's Rush's brother. He's not here either. So Jeremiah says Brady Pierce, he's taller, in better shape, better looking, and a better wrestler. And unlike you, Rush, he can actually read. So Rush then says, I have a master's degree. And Brady Pierce says, it was my understanding that Rush Freeman was already gone from the group. Jeremiah says, yeah, about 5 seconds before I called you out, Rush Freeman was kicked out of the Ill Begotten. I don't know why he's still standing here. He's obviously stupid. Brady Pierce then says, well, you told me this was going to be a family. If this is any indication of how you treat your family, then it's something I don't want to be a part of. Rush Freeman was the best athlete in your whole group. It's you holding him back. Neither of us need you. Rush, go make yourself a star, kid. And Rush Freeman says, thank you very much. That means a lot to me. I have a question. Do you like Dos Equis? And Brady says, I love Dos Equis. So then they high five and they go leave to drink beer. And Jeremiah Plunkett can't believe what just happened. And that was a pretty good segment. I like that better than a lot of these other interview segments we get. Brady definitely looked like a bigger star than most of the NWA rosters. So we'll see if he's any good at wrestling. But Jeremiah just basically destroyed the Ill Begotten, and Danny Deals can't be happy about that. So now we go to a commercial break, and this is where we start getting a bunch of matches just randomly told to us that'll happen at NWA 74 now. So on night 1 of NWA 74, it'll be EC3 taking on Big Strong Mims, and that's interesting as EC3 hasn't wrestled for the NWA since 2013 for NWA Florida Underground. But they say that this is his NWA debut since that was under his Derek Bateman character. So EC3 making his debut at NWA 74, taking on Big Strong Mims, who we haven't seen since getting destroyed by, I think, Tyrus, but it might have been the Dane event. I get those two kind of mixed up. They have the exact same like gimmicks, and both are champions that are heels and doing the same thing. Anyway, also on night 1 of NWA 74, it'll be a rematch of the tag war between Miserably Faithful and the Ill Begotten, except this time it's in a Beelzebub's Bedlam match. And since Jeremiah Plunkett just completely botched the team, that match will now be Judias, Sal the Pal, and Gags the Gimp for Miserably Faithful, and Ill Begotten are down to only 3 members, and it'll be Jeremiah Plunkett, Alex Taylor, and Danny Deals himself, because it's only the 3 of them left. Huge mistake by kicking out Rush Freeman out in public. That made the new guy, Brady Pierce, not want to join anymore since he saw what just happened to people that, you know what I mean. So anyway, the NWA junior heavyweight title that we already knew about, Homicide defending against Ricky Morton, Kerry Morton will be on night 1, possibly leaving the door open for a second title shot on the next night, on night 2. So wow, big news next, as former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion Matt Cardona will be back from injury, and he will handpick his return match, his opponent for the return match, which definitely begs the question, why wouldn't Cardona just be in the NWA World Heavyweight title match, a title he never got beaten for? So that's very strange, unless Cardona didn't want to rush into his title match and wanted a warm-up match instead, in which, if that's the case, Cardona might pick someone like Kaci Rocks, or maybe one of his friends like Brian Myers. So that's on night 1, definitely opening the door for maybe a Matt Cardona match on night 2 as well. Like I said, it's kind of awkward that Tyrus would just get the title shot and it wouldn't just go to Matt Cardona if he's back in time. And then on night 1, it'll also be the Mildred Burke Invitational 10-woman gauntlet for a title shot on night 2. So they've already named Kylan King as someone who is entering, and Kylan King wants to enter number 1. She wants to go through 9 other women to get her title shot, which they've kind of already set up a rematch between Kamille and Kylan King. So that would make sense, and but it could definitely be a surprise winner because, like I said, Kylan King would have to go through 9 other women. And then we've also had Kylan King on 2 straight AEW Dynamites in a row now. So maybe Kylan will be signing with AEW full time. Chris Statlander unfortunately got injured out her knee for a long time, and it looks like Kylan King might be taking her spot on the roster as the big, tall powerhouse woman. So that match should be fun, the gauntlet match, and it'll be interesting to see if Kylan King can run the gauntlet of beating 9 in a row to get a title match on the next night. So the national championship will also be defended on night 1 with the Dane event, Jack Stain defending against Scion in a match that absolutely nobody wants to see. So maybe there'll be a second title defense on night 2 that'll be better than this. I can't imagine anybody in their right mind wants to see those two heels go at it, and it doesn't sound like a good match either. So in the tables match, one of the better matches that they've actually set up on night 1, it'll be the tables match between Bully Ray and Mike Knox. Mike Knox blaming Bully Ray for the destruction of Aces and Eights when Bully Ray left to go sign a $1 million contract with WWE, leaving the rest of Aces and Eights and Impact to rot and die. So now we got some more big news here, as on night 1, on night 1, it'll be the Commonwealth Connection, Davey Boy Smith Jr. and Doug Williams defending the NWA World Tag Team titles against La Rebellion. So maybe the winners of that one will take on OGK, Mike Bennett, and Matt Taven on night 2. No confirmation if that's the case, but we have seen the OGK and La Rebellion feuding lately. So it looks like there was no clear winner in that, because the one match they had went to a no contest. So it looks like La Rebellion's just going to get a rematch for the titles they lost to the Commonwealth Connection. And the main event of night 1 of NWA 74 will be Kamille defending her NWA Women's World title against Taya Valkyrie. So that's great news for the women, but bad news for the fact that Trevor Murdoch against Tyrus is not on night 1, meaning that there will be no night 2 title match. I was really hoping that Trevor Murdoch and Tyrus would be on night 1, and then somebody else could get a good title shot on night 2. But now we find out here that Trevor Murdoch on Tyrus is on night 2. So that kind of sucks. And how is Cardona not getting his title shot if he's already back? What happened to all this? It's definitely interesting to find out what the heck's going to happen. So we now got more big news on as night 2. There will be a 10-team battle royal to crown the new NWA Men's United States Tag Team Champions. So wow, I have no idea who's going to win that one. Just racking my brain. I remembered last week on USA, the Country Gentlemen, AJ Kazana and Anthony Andrews had a really good match. So maybe that's a team you could see win the NWA United States tag titles. Or maybe it's a team from the Cardona family, something like that. Since it is on night 2, Mike Knox would be available after his table match on night 1, or they could do like a VSK Brian Myers. So that's sure to be a fun match, and that'll crown a new NWA United States Tag Team Champion in a 10-team battle royal. No word on if it's one of those where you have to eliminate both members, or if one's gone, you're both gone. Also on night 2, we'll oddly enough be getting an MLW Major League Wrestling National Openweight title match with Davey Richards defending the title against Thrill Billy Silas of all things, and that'll be a tough matchup for the much smaller Davey Richards in this one. And this is also a little weird because I watch MLW and they actually take a break every summer, but they still have events and tape things for when they come back in the fall. And on TV, the national openweight champion is still Alex Kane of the Boom by A Fight Club. So this is weird that it was just like, oh, here's Davey Richards. He's now the title holder, and he's going to be at NWA 74. So that's a little weird. I don't know why MLW does that, where they take the summer off every year. It just really makes no sense to me, because they clearly have things where, like, clearly Alex Kane has lost his title at some point, but there's no place to watch that anywhere. Like, that's not available to watch. But yet here's Davey Richards defending the title. So anyway, what the heck? So I thought maybe the Hex, which is Allysin Kay and Marti Belle, the former NWA Women's Tag Team Champions, I thought they were both going to worry about the new NWA Women's TV title. So, and even though the Hex lost their title rematch that they've already gotten, it will be on night 2 of NWA 74, another rematch for the NWA Women's World titles, the Hex versus Pretty Empowered, the champions, Ella Envy and Kenzie Page. So we have not seen Pretty Empowered together since that rematch. They both had singles matches since then, but we left off on a big pivotal story where the cheating of Ella Envy was making Kenzie Page cry and go insane about it. So we never did anything else with that story. Thankfully, on USA this week, we finally touch about on it after 2 freaking months of nothing. So anyway, I thought maybe you should have just, if they weren't there for the tapings, just have them at least say something over an iPhone video or something. And yet we get like 10 talking segments in that 2 months with Wrecking Ball, Legursky, and Mercurio. None of which were very good. So this will also be the 4th title match between Pretty Empowered and the Hex in the last 5 months, which definitely tells you NWA needs to get a few more women's tag team on the roster. So anyway, that should be a pretty good match, even though we have seen it a lot lately. And it's also, this Pretty Empowered versus the Hex is going to be a Kings Highway street fight. So that means that Ella Envy will be able to cheat as much as she wants because everything's legal, no disqualification, no rules. Probably meaning that the Pretty Empowered are probably going to lose this match because Kenzie will lack the killer instinct to win a street fight, and that might cost them the titles. But like I said, on USA, finally, we get Pretty Empowered talking about their struggles. So we'll touch on that later on. We're still going through what happens on night 2 here. Like I said, it's just a huge commercial here, just breaking down everything we were wondering. What the heck's going to actually be on NWA 74? We've been watching almost 3 months of television, and you barely told us anything. Now we just get everything told us at once here. So also, like we already mentioned, the winners of the title match on night 1 in the main event, Kamille versus Taya Valkyrie, will take on the winner of the Mildred Burke 10-woman gauntlet on night 1 as well. Those two will fight on night 2 for the NWA women's title. And then in the main event of night 2 is Trevor Murdoch defending the NWA World's Heavyweight title against television champion Tyrus, which sounds like an absolutely terrible match. No offense to them. I just don't really want to watch Trevor Murdoch and Tyrus in a main event match in 2022. So anyway, after that, we get a really bad promo from Chris Silvio Esquire. That's like 2 or 3 terrible promos in a row by him where his only job is to talk, and he's terrible at talking. So anyway, Chris Silvio flirts with May Valentine a little bit and then just tells us information that he's already told us before. Chris Silvio says the Dane event, Jax Dane, will no longer defend his NWA National Championship on Powerrr or USA. But over a month ago, he already told us the same thing. So this was completely pointless. And like I said, Chris Silvio's only job is to talk, and he's not good at it. So we've got a match next. Already in the ring is Tim Storm, who's normally on commentary, but he hasn't been on commentary all night. We last saw Tim Storm lose to Nick Aldis in the Race to the Chase qualifier, when Aldis got Tim so mad he accidentally got himself disqualified. So also already in the ring is Larry D. You might know him from Impact Wrestling from a few years ago. Larry D was infamously part of the Wrestle House, and he was also part of a tag team called Triple XL with AC Romero. So the veteran Tim Storm's going to be up against it today, as Larry probably has the size and speed advantage. The big 300-pounder probably has a little bit more agility than the 50-something-year-old Tim Storm. So you have to use his experience to get the win here. Even though Tim is 20 years older than Larry D, he's only 7 more years of experience. So I wonder if Tim Storm will have a match at NWA 74, but we do find out some news later on. Not necessarily about that, but news in general. Anyway, Tim Storm and Larry D stare each other down here, and Larry at over 300 pounds is making his NWA debut, and he looks to have much better knees than like Wrecking Ball Legursky, who has no knees left in his body. Anyway, nobody gets the advantage when they tie up, so kind of close on the strength here. Then Larry D is able to apply a headlock. Tim Storm gets out of it and hits a nice mafia kick, big boot. Then Larry blocks a neck breaker and hits some big strikes. Tim Storm battles back, and a big brawl here is won with a snapmare from Tim. Follows that up with another big boot, and Velvet and Joe are super annoying on commentary. I hate those two. So Larry D now hits a loud chop and a big headbutt, but Tim Storm hits a big punch to the eye, and that has Larry dazed. Larry now rakes the eyes multiple times. He didn't like that punch to his eye. Larry now hits a big scoop slam, getting a 2 count. Tim Storm's having a little bit of trouble since punching Larry in his eye, but Tim hits a big shoulder tackle and is able to hit the perfect Storm side slam for the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Tim Storm. So decent match here. I would definitely like to see Larry get more matches in NWA instead of some of the heavyweights that NWA has currently, such as a Wrecking Ball Legursky. Right after the match, Velvet Sky calls Tim Storm over to the announce table, and it seemed like Velvet was about to ask for his hand in marriage or something, but instead, Velvet Sky gives Tim Storm the championship series title shot that she still had in the bank. So, wow, Tim Storm getting a world heavyweight title shot at some point because Velvet Sky gave it to him. And we saw last week Angelina Love wanted this title shot from Velvet, and now she's giving it to Tim Storm. So Angelina Love is gonna be pissed. And Tim Storm can't believe it that he now has a world heavyweight title shot at some point. I wonder when that'll happen. So now we've got Tim Storm, Nick Aldis, and Matt Cardona with legitimate claims for title shots. And yet the person actually getting the title shot at the pay-per-view is Tyrus, of all people. So after an ad break now, we see some highlights for where Ricky Morton won 2 big matches last week, a big match against 400-pound Wrecking Ball Legursky, and then in only a few minutes beating VSK. Great with a Ricky Morton in his 60s hitting a nasty Canadian destroyer on VSK to win that match. That was awesome. Great stuff from the living legend. Now the NWA Women's Champion Kamille comes out for a non-title match. Already in the ring is Hayley Shadows, and this is Hayley's first NWA match since 2017 at an NWA Supreme event in Indiana. She was a former NWA Supreme Women's Champion there in Indiana, and Hayley also made her debut for AEW this past week and will be on this Monday's AEW Dark Elevation, which you can also find the review of that show on this channel. Hayley is a regular for OVW, and her nickname is the Barbie Killer, which Kamille is no Barbie with her big size advantage that she uses right away here. And then Hayley stomps on her foot, but Kamille keeps control after that. Then Kamille hits the Sheamus 10 beats of the Baldron and is making definitely weird noises with her voice as she's hitting attacks here. Just, I don't know what's going on with Camille's, like, putting I don't know how to even describe it. But anyway, Kamille applies a nerve hold on the neck, and Hayley Shadows is able to strike her way out. Then Kamille hits a huge clothesline, and Hayley is just barely able to kick out of that pin. Now Hayley hits a few bad-looking strikes, and Kamille hits a backdrop suplex, and the crowd's yelling at Hayley to stay down. Kamille now hits a big running knee strike, and then Hayley is able to evade the next attack and hits a nice floating kick to the face. Camille's able to kick out at 2, but that was a close call for the champion here. Hayley Shadows is now gaining in confidence, but Kamille just simply lifts her up easily for the Finley Rolling Hills, follows that up with a big spear for the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Kamille. So Kamille celebrates, and we just quickly move on to a commercial break. So I hope we get the hear from Kamille before the show ends, as she might have 2 big title defenses next week. But no promos from Kamille this week. At least we got to see her in action. Pretty decent match here. I like what I saw out of Hayley Shadows, and I'll be excited to see how Hayley does on AEW Elevation this Monday. So check back in to see how the progression of Hayley Shadows is going. So in the back now, May Valentine is with a absolutely seething mad Roland. Why can I never say this? Rolando. Because I always want to say Ronaldo. So Rolando Freeman, he's the big little brother of Rush Freeman, who Rush just embarrassingly got kicked out of the Ill Begotten. So Rolando says, Ill Begotten, you have disrespected my family, my little brother Rush. You'll be added to my whiteboard, man. Understand? There's another person on my whiteboard, the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Trevor Murdoch. You also disrespected my family. No one does that. You better shine that title up real nice, because Rolando is coming for you. You better be prepared, because you and me, it's going to happen very soon. So the tiny little Rolando, I don't know why that's so hard to say, Freeman says that he wants a piece of Trevor Murdoch and the Ill Begotten. So that's pretty funny. So I can't imagine Murdoch's going to be worried about that, but it adds just one more headache to the champion, Trevor Murdoch, to deal with. Murdoch already has something going on with the Pope. Now Ronaldo and Tyrus in the main event at NWA 74. Tim Storm now has a title shot. Matt Cardona has returned. He'll want a title shot at some point. Nick Aldis won the number one contendership, and it's been stripped from him. So that's 6 people right there. And if you add Ronaldo, his brother Rush, and the rest of the Cardona family, that's about 9 people that are looking to get a piece of Trevor Murdoch or his title. So there's a massive target on the NWA World Champion's back right now, and he might have screwed over the only ally he had, Pope, just last week. So at the interviewers area now, Kyle Davis is with Black G's, who's about to be in the main event tonight on Powerrr against Rodney Mack. So Black G's says, when I came to NWA, I came here with a plan, and so far that plan has been working. I've been leading the family to victory, to titles, and success. Mr. Ready for TV himself, the church's money, Black G's, came for success as well, and that success is the NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship. But the church's money has a problem. For some reason, the NWA decided to put me in a match with Rodney Mack. I have no problem with Rodney, but I have no idea why this match is happening. He's not a junior heavyweight. So then Kyle brings out Rodney Mack early for the match here so that they can ask Rodney why this match is happening. Rodney is accompanied by his new mentor, Aron Stevens. Rodney says, I think he's scared. If you're scared, say you're scared. And then Rodney Mack goes in the ring, getting ready for the main event here. Black G's didn't say anything to that and goes in the ring as well. So then the bell rings to start the match. Black G's is by far the smaller man in this match, and Black G's did make a good point about he only cares about the junior heavyweight title. All his clients are the ones that are going for the heavyweight titles. So why would Black G's care about this match or want this match? So Black G's can't get anything going against the much bigger Rodney Mack here. So he rolls out of the ring. Aron Stevens follows him closely and gets in his face, kind of. Rodney then is able to evade an attack back in the ring and clothesline the back of Black G's. Rodney then catches a crossbody attempt and hits a big power slam. Black G's is just barely able to kick out of this and won't be able to sustain too many big slams like that. Tyrus now comes out and he wants to watch over this match and motivate G's. Tyrus is able to distract Rodney here so that G's can take control. Black G's gets a 1 count off of a drop kick. Black G's then rakes the face and hits a couple of weak chops. All this does is fire up Rodney Mack, but Black G's then bites the face, and Rodney counters the next move after that, but G's counters twice in a row right after. G's then hits a top rope missile drop kick, but again, only gets a 1 count. Rodney then catches another crossbody attempt, slamming G's down hard. Rodney then hits the euthanizer, or applies the euthanizer. It's the Cobra Clutch, and that forces Black G's to tap out. The winner of this match by submission, Rodney Mack. So right after the match, Black G's drop kicks Rodney right out of the ring. Aron Stevens runs in and he takes Black G's out. Tyrus comes in, stands behind Stevens, and this scares Aron Stevens, who gets out of the ring, but then goes and grabs a chair, tells Tyrus to come at him, and then the show ends. So, I mean, that match was fine. Like Black G said, he didn't want to be in the match, so we weren't ever going to get a good match in that one. The graphics on the bottom now say it will be the Pope against Rodney Mack at NWA 74, another match we have not built up whatsoever in the last 3 months. And then earlier when Black G's was talking, they also showed that it will be Tyrus and Trevor Murdoch in the main event at NWA 74, but yet this was another episode of Powerrr where they didn't even mention Tyrus is in the main event other than just putting that graphic up. So it seems like definitely the shows were recorded without that in mind. So it's super strange. It really is like Tyrus isn't supposed to be in the main event and that they just took all this out of all the recorded shows. But like I said, all this is still in the opening videos, still in the commercials, and still listed in the credits. So it's not like all this was fired and removed. It's definitely some kind of storyline, but I have no idea what actually NWA are trying to do. It's not really setting up NWA 74 at all. In fact, it's like making NWA 74 look like a joke, in my opinion. So it's kind of making these episodes of Powerrr obsolete because of the fact that the big main event they're building toward isn't even what they're building toward, and Tyrus is just randomly out here doing other things, and they never once mentioned that he's the #1 contender. So like I said, if they really, really wanted to make it look like all this was like supposed to do it, and they just legitimately fired him, then you would have taken him out of your opening videos, you would have taken him out of the credits, stuff like that. So we haven't seen or heard or mentioned Nick Aldis on any of these TV shows, like I said. So they're definitely trying to make it look like Aldis was like removed, and like maybe he was in these shows but they just removed him. But it's just not coming across very well. They had to have had the announcers talking about, oh, here's Tyrus, he's got a big main event match at NWA 74. Like, Tyrus was just out here and nobody mentions that he's in a title match in the main event of the pay-per-view, which is just ridiculous. So there was actually another bonus match after the Powerrr, just like last week, and this time it's a TV title match. Tyrus defending against the Pope from a year ago, where Tyrus retained. So without the bonus match, this episode of Powerrr was only 37 minutes long, which is way shorter than usual. So again, it kind of makes me feel like they cut out stuff that involved Nick Aldis, and everything about NWA right now is definitely super weird. I'm not quite sure where this is going to all take us, but it is a little intriguing to see what the heck's going to happen. But like I said, week after week on these shows, nothing really happens. And how is NWA going to get any new fans when they don't build up their pay-per-view? They've had 3 months to build up these 2-night event NWA 74s, and it really only feels like they're fine. Like, they set up a few things here and there throughout the 3 months, but like, this whole Tyrus thing is messing everything up for sure. So anyway, let's see what happens on this week's episode of NWA USA from August 20th, 2022. And this is a little bit longer episode of USA than usual. If you take out the bonus match from Powerrr, they're about the same size. But we find out later on, they show a big recap and the big where they run down all the matches at 74. So as soon as NWA USA starts, the bell rings and it will be a match here. Mercurio taking on Matt Vine. So they talk trash and do absolutely nothing for the first minute here. Matt Vine is looking absolutely jacked, and he goes on the attack right away here, hitting some big strikes. Mercurio is getting destroyed, and he might not have any advantages in this match, as Matt Vine might have the size, strength, speed, and agility advantage. But Mercurio is able to turn it around with a big lariat, a scoop slam, and a knee drop for a 2 count. And then they both pull each other's hair here. Then Mercurio hits a bad-looking jumping knee strike. Mercurio hits the one and only that Billy Gunn used to do for a 2 count. Then Matt Vine hits a big Polish hammer to the face to turn it around. Matt hits a striking combo followed by a huge power slam. Mercurio is just barely able to kick out of that. But Mercurio evades a super kick right after that and then hits the unprettier, getting the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Mercurio. So wow, Mercurio was way worse in every way than Matt Vine in that match, but somehow gets the win. It seems like Mercurio is getting more and more time on these shows throughout the last 3 months and whatnot. Just really hasn't delivered in the ring as of yet. So hopefully he can start delivering in the ring if he's going to be featured this much. So awesome. Finally, they tell us that we're going to hear from Pretty Empowered, the NWA Women's Tag Team Champions, and it's almost been 2 months since we've seen them together. Also later, their opponents at NWA 74, the Hex, will be in action, and that's Allysin Kay and Marti Belle. So those are their opponents for Pretty Empowered at NWA 74. So both teams, one in a promo segment, one in a match, will be on today's episode of NWA USA. And in the NWA USA opening video, it shows Ella Envy when she hit Allysin Kay with the title shot to win the titles. And it's in slow motion, and clearly the title did not even come close to hitting Allysin Kay in the head. It was missed by a long shot where Allysin Kay sells it anyway. And why the heck would they put that in the opening video? It clearly misses her. So anyway, this is a big time segment. I've been waiting months for this. Pretty Empowered are at the interviewer area with Kyle Davis, who after 2 months, Kyle finally brings up how they haven't been seeing eye to eye. Basically, Ella Envy cheats the win, and Kenzie Page hates that. So Kenzie Page says, at NWA 74, we have to be at the top of our game, as the competition is very strong here in the NWA. But actually, Ella Envy said that she knew who our opponents were. Ella then says, yeah, we'll be wrestling each other. You agreed to it, so why are you acting like this? Kenzie says, Ella, when did I agree to that? Ella says, do you not remember? We were hanging out the other night in the limo, and our song was playing. Anyway, when I win, I promise you, I will make all the right decisions for Pretty Empowered. I will be the leader we need. Stop acting like that. You're my best friend, Kenzie. I swear I would never steer you wrong, ever. Um, Kenzie Page then says, Ella, someone really smart told me that when friends say that, it's kind of a red flag. Ella Envy says, baby, I don't wear red. Pink is my color. Also, why would I want to mess this up for either of us? We're the tag team champions. You know me. You know my intentions. I love you. I wouldn't steer you wrong. And then Kenzie says, Ella, you're my best friend. I respect you. I love you. I appreciate everything that you brought to this team. And then Kyle Davis says that match will happen next week on Powerrr. It's a special celebration 74 edition of Powerrr, and those two will fight. The women's tag team champions will be fighting against each other. So this is great. This is a really good story they got going on with Pretty Empowered. I just wish they didn't put it in the background to simmer for nothing happening for 2 months straight. But I do like the idea of this singles match. Basically, if Ella Envy wins, then Pretty Empowered will keep cheating the win. But if Kenzie Page wins, they'll stop cheating. That's a pretty interesting stipulation. Although it is a bad idea to do this in the same week that they have to defend their titles against the Hex. Pretty Empowered had 2 months to sort this out, and they did not. So that might be, if they end up losing the titles to the Hex, they might look back on this rookie mistake here. So we go to an ad break now where they tell us all about the special edition of Powerrr next week. It'll be celebrating 74 with every wrestler on the roster at the show. So I'm guessing some huge news will happen, and also we'll finally set up stuff for the pay-per-view Foley. Also, it's not officially announced anywhere this week, but a few weeks ago, Homicide and Caprice Coleman were talking about how they wanted to fight on the last Powerrr before NWA 74. So hopefully that match also happens on Celebrating 74 next week, edition of Powerrr, because Homicide against Caprice Coleman sounds like an amazing match. So now, pretty interesting segment next as we're in the back, and it's all 3 people that Aron Stevens associates with, all 4 of them standing together. So it's Aron Stevens with May Valentine, Rodney, Mack, and Kaci Rocks. So this is like a weird new stable that Aron has assembled. May Valentine says that some people are wondering why Aron stayed after retiring. Aron Stevens says, well, to move forward, you have to give back. 20 years ago, Rodney was there for me when I needed him, and now I'm here for him when he needs me. I'm just here to remind him that he's still good. And then there's the greenhorns, the people that might need a little bit more coaching and guidance. None of you can truly relate to what it's like starting out in this business. So it's about giving back, and that's why I'm here. And then before the segment ends, Aron finally tells May Valentine they'll go to Brazil, like he said 3 months ago, and that NWA paid for everything. So maybe more shady Billy Corgan deals, or Aron Stevens is just lying. So anyway, Aron is also making fun of Kaci Rocks during all of this, and there was really good chemistry between everyone here. So maybe this will be a new stable going forward. And it did do a good job of explaining why Aron Stevens retired, but then never really left, saying that he wants to help out the youth, and not even the youth, but one of his older friends as well. So good stuff. I wonder where this is going to go from here. Aron Stevens acts like a complete tweener the whole time. You don't know if his intentions are good or bad. So it's really tough to tell what Aron Stevens wants to do next, which is a great thing. You don't know if he's got bad intentions or good intentions. But like I said, I'm pretty sure he just lied to May Valentine about the trip to Brazil again. So I think he's just like lying to everybody, but also trying to be a good guy on the outside. I'm not quite sure. Sounds like John Cena to me. Anyway, we now see a giant recap, and that's part of what made this week's episode of USA long, is we get a huge recap from NWA, from the NWA Junior Heavyweight title match between Homicide and PJ Hawks, the one that was all the way back at Always Ready, the last pay-per-view. That's where the Fixers got involved afterwards, causing Luke Hawks, PJ's father, to get mad at Homicide for not protecting his son enough. Since then, Homicide has defended the title against Colby Carino, VSK, and PJ Hawks again, and they've all lost in title matches against Homicide, who's looking unstoppable right now and putting it all together late in his veteran career. Just looking great. So, like I said, hopefully we get Homicide against Caprice Coleman next week on Powerrr, and then we'll also get Homicide against Kerry Morton at the pay-per-view, and maybe another impromptu match on night 2. So in the back now with May Valentine is the new tag team. We saw them form on Powerrr just this week. 4 days later, it's Rush Freeman and Brady Pierce. and they hilariously already have matching outfits. It's a black bow tie with vest and no shirts. They basically look like the Fantastics. So it's only been 4 days since they've met each other, and that's absolutely hilarious. I love that. So Rush Freeman says, when we started the Ill Begotten, we took in people that didn't quite fit the mold anywhere else. But now I don't fit in with the people we brought in. They think I'm dumb, but I have a master's degree. I've got a lot going on for myself. Brady Pierce, him and I see eye to eye, and we're both great looking guys. We've got it going on. Brady Pierce then says, the Ill Begotten doesn't think Mr. Rush Freeman has what it takes. His pinky has more talent than their entire team, and we'll just prove that. And then the segment ends. Brady's promo on Powerrr in front of the fans was much better than this one. This backstage one was pretty bad from Brady Pierce. So that happens with some people. Some people are better backstage without the pressure of the fans, and some people, when the fans are there in front of them, the pressure's on and they do better. So anyway, I love that they're all of a sudden a real tag team. That's pretty cool. And when we saw Rush's brother Rolando earlier, he also had that bow tie and vest on as well. So I wonder what this new team's going to be. It's the Freeman brothers and Brady Pierce, who've now left the Ill Begotten to form their own stable. So that should be interesting. Like I said, they're basically wearing the Fantastics bow ties and vests with no shirt. Anyway, got a big main event here. This ends up being the match of the week. You had to wait all the way to the end of the week to get the best match, but this was well worth it. It is in the women's tag division again, which has been a second women's tag division match of the entire week, which is great. We also got the number one. We also got the champions, Pretty Empowered, finally talking about their storyline. So good. Finally, we addressed the women's tag division. It's better than nothing, right? So anyway, the number one contenders to the NWA women's tag titles and the former champions, the Hex, will be in action here, and that's Marti, Belle, and Allysin Kay. They'll take on Kaci, Lennox, and Missa Kate, who will be tagging together for the first time ever in any company. Missa Kate has taken on the Hex before when Natalie Markova was her partner. And last time we saw Kaci Lennox, she was losing to Kenzie Page in a singles match a month ago on Powerrr. So she'll be the largest woman in this match. Kaci Lennox is. The Hex now have matching gear, and they look like a real team, unlike Missa Kate and Kaci Lennox. So Missa Kate and Allysin Kay are going to start this match out. They tie up together, and Allysin has a big strength advantage here. So Kate then goes for a go behind, but Allysin applies a headlock. They counter each other back and forth, and then Allysin hyperextends the arm and tags in Marti, Belle. Marti then hyperextends the arm a little bit more, tags back in Allysin so that they can hit a double team, and Missa Kate's already in trouble here. But she tries to fight back. Allysin counters her, easily hitting a neck breaker. Now Marti, Belle tags in, hitting some forearms. Allysin tags back in. They hit another nice double team. It was a senton and a penalty kick right after. Missa Kate barely able to kick out of this, and she's been isolated for way too long now. Missa Kate fires a strike in, but that just fires up Marti, Belle, who goes on a rampage here, then tags in Allysin Kay. Kate is able to counter, but Kaci Lennox is able to hit help Kate hit a super kick here. Kate then hits a running knee strike for a 2 count, but Missa Kate stays on the attack and doesn't tag out, which might be a mistake. She was caught in this match for a long time, but Kate is able to apply a chin lock. Allysin strikes out, but Kate keeps control here, hitting some strikes, and finally tags out. So Kaci Lennox comes in for the first time. She wears down Allysin further with some really simple basic offense here. Kaci Lennox is a 5-year pro. You'd think she'd have better offense than this. Anyway, Kaci's able to keep Allysin isolated, tags in back in Missa Kate without ever hitting a move. So Missa Kate wasn't anywhere near recovered, but clearly Kaci doesn't know how to wrestle yet, even after 5 years. Kate then applies a headlock and gets a nice takedown. Allysin then gets out but can't tag out, and then Kate pulls the hair and tags back in Kaci Lennox. They hit a double team suplex here, and Allysin kicks out at 2. So let's see if Kaci can hit a move. Nope, she just tags right back in Missa Kate. Then Allysin fights back with a striking combo, followed by a big lariat here. Both women are now down, but they're both able to tag out. Marti, Belle comes in and destroys Kaci Lennox, hitting multiple lariats. Then a move that was close to the Miz's skull-crushing finale. Kate has to run in the help, but Allysin comes in, hitting a big Uranagi slam, taking Kate out. Kaci Lennox then counters a pedigree attempt, rolling Marti, Belle up, almost winning the match here, but only for a 2 count. Allison's able to break it up, and Marti counters a punch while Allysin hits a backdrop suplex on Kaci Lennox. Then Marti hits the protect ya neck. pedigree on Kaci for the 1-2-3. The winners of this match by pinfall, the Hex. So by far, this was the best match of the week. Good stuff here. Although Kaci Lennox never hit one wrestling move in the entire match, just strikes and pins from her. Like I said, 5-year pro, and you're still just doing strikes and pins. Who are you, Alexa Bliss? So anyway, NWA desperately needs more women's tag teams. Like I said, it's going to be the Hex versus Pretty Empowered at NWA 74, having a 4th title match in the last 5 months. That's more than everybody else that's had a title match combined in that time period. But it's going to be a good team. We saw, like I said, 2 different tag team matches this week, but 2 of those teams were absolute jokes with one member, Paula Blaze, on the other team, and this time Kaci Lennox, they weren't able to do anything to help their teammates. So we definitely need to get some established teams in the women's division. Otherwise, finally, at least this week was better. So that concludes everything this week. And it's finally, we're talking about NWA 74. Finally, they announced more matches. We just got a ton of matches announced all at once. Some of them have some story behind them. Some of them don't. Some of them are still baffling, like Jax Dane against Zion. Like, who really cares about that match? But there is some exciting stuff, like the gauntlet match and the battle royal are both going to be good. Matt Cardona's back, so you don't know what kind of stuff's going to happen there. But just my biggest complaint is that we did this whole storyline where we're stripping Nick Aldis of the title shot and giving it to Tyrus, but every time on TV that Tyrus shows up, the announcers never mention that he has a title shot coming up. So it just looks so stupid that you don't talk about your big main event of your big two of night pay-per-view event, and you never talk about the main event. Like, all we get is these little graphics because it's clear as day that they're trying to make it look like, oh, Nick Aldis was supposed to have the title match, but he's gone rogue and we had to strip him of it. But clearly Nick Aldis is still listed as an executive producer, and when you roll the credits at the end of your show, clearly Nick Aldis is still in the commercials during the show, and he's in the opening video. So you're not fooling anyone by saying, oh yeah, Nick Aldis, we've removed him, and that's why we couldn't have the announcers talk about Tyrus, is because it was supposed to be Nick Aldis, but now we've removed all mentions of Nick Aldis. Like, they only did it halfway, and the way that they did it is really baffling, because how can anybody be excited for NWA 74? You're not even talking about the main event match. So yes, it brings in this little intriguing side story of what the heck's going on with Nick Aldis, what's going on with the shady deals with Billy Corgan and the Cardonas and stuff like that. But then at the end of the day, we're not talking about the main event match at all. We had a Kamille match today, but she's in the main event of night 1. We didn't really get anything from her or Ty Valkyrie. So we've got one more week. They said every single person on the roster is going to be at Powerrr this week. They're calling it Celebration 74. So hopefully this is a little bit longer than like a 30-40 minute episode. Maybe they can make it like a full hour 20 minutes, something cool like that. And they could have a lot of different promos and stuff with face-to-faces and whatnot, because it's still not going to make up for the fact that they don't utilize their 3 whole months to have an hour of television every week. That's 4 times 3, 12. That's 12 hours of television that NWA has only really used maybe 2 hours of that 12 to promote this new the pay-per-view event that's supposed to be coming up. That makes no sense to me. Like, yes, they've been building up their characters, but like half these promos we get in these 3-month span are just quote unquote comedy segments that aren't funny, and it barely even does anything to promote the characters or promote any matches on A, Powerrr or USA the next week, or B, NWA 74. So I really don't know what kind of game plan they're using right now. It's kind of baffling. So if I was there, I would definitely be doing things different. We'll see if Billy Corgan has some kind of grand plan. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll still be watching and reviewing NWA 74, but they're really going to need to pull out something special. Otherwise, it looked like that this entire 3 months of television was a waste. So hopefully NWA 74 ends up being really good, and I am looking forward to next week's Powerrr. Before NWA 74, it's celebrating 74, and it should be a good episode. So I might put out I don't know exactly how I'm going to review everything because there might be a USA. I might review just Powerrr and put that out, and then USA is probably going to be there. So I'll do night 1 and USA if they both come out on Saturday, just in the same video. So I'll have 3 different reviews for NWA coming out in the next 7 days. So look out for those. Give me a subscribe and a thumbs up so you don't miss out, and so we can have other people know that we're covering NWA in depth over here. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you guys again next week for the big 3 big events, 2 from NWA 74, and then the celebrating NWA 74 Power edition of Powerrr. So thanks for tuning in. Enjoy your week, and I'll talk to you guys again real soon. Peace.